the Tinderbox. Left, right, a lone soldier came marching up the road, his eyes fixed on the horizon. At last, he could see the rooftops of the city.
What a time.
Good evening, soldier, came a husky voice from behind him. The soldier turned around to see a stooped old woman. Good evening, madam, he said, taking off his cap to her. What's the news from the battlefront? Croaked the old woman. The war is over, the soldier told her cheerfully, so I'm off to the city to make my fortune and to find myself a wife. The old crone grinned. Perhaps you and I could help each other out, she said. Really? Asked the soldier. How? You see that tree with the hole in its trunk? She said, pointing a bony finger at a gnarled old tree. If you climb down inside, you'll find 3 chests full of money. The soldier eyed the old woman suspiciously. And what do you want in return? He asked. All I want is for you to find my old tinderbox that I have lost down there, she replied. Well, that sounds easy enough, said the soldier. It's a deal. And he started to climb into the tree. Wait, said the crone. It isn't all that easy. You'll have to get past 3 fierce-looking guard dogs. One has eyes the size of saucers. The second has eyes as big as dinner plates, and the third has eyes as wide as cartwheels. But don't worry. Take my blue apron and lay it on the ground. Get each dog onto the apron, and it will lie down as docile as a kitten. What does docile mean?
It's kind of a bad example.
No.
Tired.
Well, yeah, a kitten can be hyper, so yeah, tired, kind of calm. She handed the soldier her apron and the end of a length of rope. However, the dogs won't stay still for long, she warned him. Tie this rope around your waist, and I'll pull you up as soon as you're ready to come out. Thanks, said the soldier, and with the rope around his waist, he climbed into the tree and lowered himself down inside. At the bottom, he untied himself and peered around. He was in a gloomy cavern. 3 chambers opened off the cavern, and out of each one stared a pair of glinting eyes. The soldier spread out the woman's blue apron on the ground, then went into the first chamber. There, guarding a wooden chest full of copper coins, was a huge, ferocious-looking guard dog. Stop hitting my arm, bud. You're making me shake. Just as the crone had described, the dog's eyes were the size of saucers. They bulged out of its head as it stared threateningly at the soldier. Didn't anyone tell you it's rude to stare? Joked the soldier. Then he grabbed the dog by the scruff of its neck. It snarled and snapped as the soldier dragged it out into the cavern. But as soon as he hauled it onto the old woman's apron, it whimpered, and it lay down and fell asleep. Well, that was easy enough, said the soldier. He poured the copper coins into his backpack and moved on to the second chamber. There, the second dog was guarding a chest full of silver coins. Yeah, it was bigger and more monstrous than the last, and its eyes were the size of dinner plates. With its unblinking eyes fixed on the soldier, the dog let out a deep rumbling growl and bared its dagger-sharp teeth. Where's your growl, guys? Oh, good job. Don't look at me like that, said the soldier, and he grabbed the dog and heaved it over to the old woman's apron. Just as before, the dog instantly lay down and fell asleep with its head between its paws. The soldier scooped all the silver coins into his bag and hurried on. In the third chamber was a chest full of gold coins, but blocking the way was the biggest, most terrifying dog yet. It towered over the soldier, and it had impossibly big eyes as wide as cartwheels. The dog let out a blood-curdling howl. Let's hear your howls. Oh, it's gotta be a scary howl. Okay. Shh. Then, something really extraordinary happened. Its eyes began to spin around and around in their sockets, faster and faster. The soldier stared in amazement until he was dizzy. Slaving murderously, the dog roared and made a dive for the soldier. At the very last moment, the soldier ducked. The dog flew right over him, knocking off his hat and landing on the apron with a ground-shattering thud. Just like the others, the dog instantly slumped down on the apron and began to snooze. "What dozy dogs!" exclaimed the soldier. Quickly, he crammed all the gold coins into his bag. "With all this money, I'll be able to buy anything I want," he thought. The first dog was beginning to stir when the soldier spotted the old woman's tinderbox at the bottom of the chest. He reached in, grabbed it, and ran to the rope. "Madam, please pull me up as quick as you can," he called, tugging on the rope. The rope didn't move. "Have you found my tinderbox?" came the old woman's voice. Suddenly, all 3 dogs shook the sleep from their eyes and sprang to their feet, snarling. Yes, I've got it," called the soldier. "Now please pull me up before the dogs get me." "Very well," she said. The dogs leaped up and down, trying to sink their teeth into the soldier's ankles, but the woman hoisted him up to safety just in the nick of time. The soldier climbed out of the hole in the tree trunk and breathed a sigh of relief. "That was close," he said. "A moment longer and those vicious dogs would have torn me limb from limb." "Yes, and they still will," cackled the old woman. She snatched the tinderbox from the soldier, then tried to push him back into the tree. But the soldier pushed back, knocking the tinderbox from the old woman's hand. She lunged forward to pick it up, tripped over one of the tree's twisted roots, and went tumbling down the hole. The soldier shuddered. "I wonder why the old woman was so desperate to get a hold of this battered thing," he thought, as he picked up the tinderbox and turned it over in his hands. "It looks perfectly ordinary to me, but it might come in useful." So he put the tinderbox in his backpack, along with the copper, silver, and gold coins, and headed off to the city. When he arrived, he went straight to the best hotel in town, booked himself into its most luxurious set of rooms, and ordered every dish on the menu to be sent up to him. The next day, the soldier went on a shopping spree. He bought himself a stylish winter coat with big brass buttons, some shiny black leather boots, and a dappled silver mare to ride around town. Over the next few weeks, the soldier made many new friends. They told him all the wonderful things there were to see and do in their city, and showed him the copper castle up on the hill. "Who lives there?" the soldier asked. "The king, queen, and their daughter," his friends replied. "The princess is said to be incredibly beautiful, but we've never seen her. A fortune teller once said that she was destined to marry an ordinary soldier. The king doesn't ever want that to happen, so he keeps her locked away in the castle." "I must find a way to see her," thought the soldier. "Perhaps I'm the soldier she's supposed to marry." Over the next few weeks, he led a merry life. He passed the days riding in the royal parks, spent evenings at the opera, and danced the nights away at balls and parties. Then one day, he suddenly found that he had just 2 gold coins left. The soldier had to move out of his luxurious rooms and into a cheap attic space. He sold his coat and his horse and got himself a job washing dishes to pay the rent. It was dark in the attic, but the soldier didn't even have a spare penny to buy a candle. Then, one evening, he remembered that he still had the old woman's tinderbox. Opening up the box, he found a flint and the stub of a candle. He took them out and struck the flint against the side of the box. No sooner had it sparked than the guard dog with eyes as big as saucers appeared. It was wagging its tail and didn't look so fierce anymore. "What may I do for you, master?" asked the dog. The soldier was astounded. "Well, this is a welcome surprise," he exclaimed. "I really need some money. I don't suppose you could bring me some, could you?" "Your wish is my command," answered the dog. In the blink of a saucer-sized eye, it vanished and reappeared with a sack of copper coins in its mouth. "Good dog," said the soldier, and he patted the creature on the head. The next evening, he took out the tinderbox again to light another candle. He struck the flint against the side of the box, and in a flash, the dog with eyes the size of dinner plates appeared. Wagging its tail and ready to obey his wishes, the soldier soon learned that whenever he needed money, he could simply strike the tinderbox to summon one of the guard dogs to bring him another sack of copper, silver, or gold coins. The soldier gave up his dishwashing job and returned to a life of leisure. He moved into a large townhouse bought back his silver mare, and ate out every night. Every morning he went riding in the royal park and looked up at the high walls that surrounded the copper castle. He longed to see the beautiful princess who was locked up inside. Then, one evening, the soldier had an idea. He struck the tinderbox, and in a flash, the dog with eyes the size of saucers appeared. "What may I do for you, master?" it asked. "It's nearly midnight, but I'd love just a brief glimpse of the princess," said the soldier. "Your wish is my command," replied the dog. It turned tail and vanished, returning a moment later with a very sleepy princess riding on its back. She had tumbling, coppery curls, and her nightdress was embroidered with silver and gold stars. The soldier thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He couldn't resist giving her a quick kiss on the cheek before the dog whisked her back to the castle. The next morning, the princess ate breakfast with the king and queen. "I had the strangest dream last night," she told them. "I had dreamed that a dog with eyes as big as saucers came to my room, and I rode on its back across the rooftops to where a handsome soldier was waiting for me, and he kissed me." The king scowled. "What an unlikely tale," he said. "Oh, careful, Joan." But he was secretly worried that it wasn't a dream at all. So later he ordered a maid to keep watch by the princess's bed and find out what was going on. All day, the soldier could think of nothing but the beautiful princess. "I have to see her again," he sighed. So that night, he struck the tinderbox once more. "Ollie, please stop." In a flash, the dog with eyes the size of dinner plates appeared. "What may I do for you, my master?" it asked. "I just want another brief glimpse of the beautiful princess," said the soldier. "Your wish is my command," replied the dog, and it was gone. In no time at all, the dog returned with the sleeping princess on its back, just as before. But this time, the princess's maid had been keeping watch. She followed the dog and watched it take her mistress into the soldier's house. She took a piece of chalk and marked the door with an X. "Now I'll be able to find this place in the morning," she thought, and she went home to bed. Soon after, the dog took the sleeping princess back to the castle. Being a clever dog, it noticed the cross on its master's front door. So it took a piece of chalk in its mouth and drew an X on the door of every house in the city. Early the next morning, the maid returned with the king and queen to show them where the dog had taken the princess. "Here it is," she announced when they came to a house with a marked front door. "No, there it is," said the king, pointing to the front door of a house on the other side of the road. It had an X on it, too. At the same moment, the queen called from the opposite side of the street, "Here it is!" Realizing they had been outwitted, they went back to the castle to come up with another plan. That night, the soldier struck the tinderbox again. This time, the dog with eyes as wide as cartwheels appeared. "What may I do for you, master?" it asked. Again, the soldier said all he wanted was to see the beautiful princess. "Your wish is my command," replied the dog, and off it went. It carried the sleeping princess on its back over the rooftops, through the streets of the sleeping city, and to the soldier's house. In spite of its enormous eyes, there was something the dog hadn't noticed. Earlier that day, the queen had sewn a pouch full of flour to the back of the princess's nightdress. Then she cut a small hole in it. All the way from the castle, the flour had trickled out, leaving a trail that led straight to the soldier's house. At dawn, the soldier was woken by the noise of someone pounding at his front door. Throwing on his dressing gown, he opened the door to be confronted by the king and his officers. "Seize him!" cried the king. The soldier was marched to the city prison and thrown into a dark, damp cell. "You'll hang this afternoon," bellowed the king. Alone in his cell, the soldier stared through the bars of the tiny window. Outside, the king's officers were building a gallows in the market square, and a crowd was already gathering to watch the hanging. "How am I going to get out of this?" he wondered. Then he had an idea. He called out to a boy in the street. "Hey, boy, if you go to my house and bring me my tinderbox from the kitchen dresser, I'll give you a gold coin." The boy had never been offered so much as a copper penny before, so he agreed to help. Before long, he returned with the tinderbox. No sooner had the soldier paid the boy than two of the king's officers unlocked the door of the cell. They led him out to the square where the whole city was now waiting. The king and queen were sitting on a splendid throne, and it seemed the only person who was missing was the princess. As the hangman took him up the steps to the gallows, the soldier spoke up. "May I have a last request?" he asked. "I'd dearly like to smoke my pipe once more before I die." "Very well," said the king. The soldier reached into his pocket and pulled out a pipe and the tinderbox. Once, twice, 3 times he struck the flint against the box. In a flash, all 3 dogs appeared. The crowd gasped and the hangman fainted. "What may we do for you, master?" the dogs asked all together. "Please bring the princess here to me," said the soldier. "Your wish is our command, master," replied the dogs, and they vanished, leaving the king and queen wide-eyed in amazement. In the blink of an eye, the dogs reappeared, bringing the princess with them. She beamed with delight as soon as she set eyes on the soldier. "My soldier," she cried, "I knew you weren't just a dream." "My princess," the soldier replied. Then he turned to the king and queen. "Your daughter shouldn't be locked away. She should be free to marry any man she chooses," he said. "But I hope that man will be me." The king felt suddenly ashamed. "You're right," he said. "You may be an ordinary soldier, but you are clearly extraordinarily brave to be able to command such terrifying creatures. I'd be happy to have you as a son-in-law as long as my daughter will have you." "I will," the princess replied happily. And so the princess married her soldier. The wedding feast was a grand affair, and the 3 dogs were all invited. They sat at the top table with the bride and groom and watched over the party with their eyes as big as saucers, dinner plates, and
Cartwheels.
cartwheels. The end.